Hi there friends, Travis here. If you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you, and of course if you've been here before, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to discuss my likes, my dislikes, and give some overall thoughts on my cruise that I recently went on MSC Magnifica. I have written notes, and I just released a full vlog series on this adventure. I'll put that in a card above as well if you want to go check that out. I did a day-by-day, account of everything I experienced on board, and it was super fun. But yeah, with that said, sit back, relax, maybe grab some popcorn and a drink, and let's move right on into the video. If maybe you're new here, or even if you've been lingering for a while and just haven't seen one of these videos on my channel before, I like to start with the dislikes, get the negative stuff out of the way. A lot of people watch the first couple of minutes and be like, God, he's so negative, he is so picky. That's not really the case. I backload all the good stuff, and while I do 3 not so good and 3 good bullet points that I highlight specifically, there's usually more good than bad on these cruises. But yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and start with my first dislike, and that's that the ship had a little bit of a wonky layout. I said it the second I got on board. There's no real lobby atrium area. It's a little bit of one. It's like 2 stories tall or something, maybe 3, but it's very tiny. You would miss it if you blinked and were walking through or whatever. The way we entered the ship, we were in some sort of side hallway, and I found it very difficult to figure out where to go, etc. They've definitely improved their layouts, as the ships have gotten newer, etc. This is an older ship. I think it was built in like 2009, something like that. So MSC has definitely improved their designs and stuff since then. Even like MSC Divina, which came a couple years later, is a vast improvement over this one. So yeah, if you're going to be on MSC Magnifica in the future, just be aware that the layout's going to take some getting used to. If you're not used to these older ships and stuff, you may find it a little bit more claustrophobic, a little bit harder to get around, etc. Once I figured out the layout and, had, in my mind how things kind of operate, you get really used to the layout and it's pretty easy to get around. But those first couple of days I was lost, and, I would end up going the wrong way on accident and, things like that. Not being able to get through on certain decks, I'd have to go up or down to, navigate through an area. One kind of saving grace is this is a smaller ship, so there's less ship to have to figure out. Some of the larger ships, take multiple days to figure out the layout just because there's so much ship to navigate through, etc. But yeah, so just be aware of that on MSC Magnifica, you may have issues with the layout early on, and it'll take some getting used to and all that. And for my next dislike, I don't really know how I'm going to word this or whatever. I had a pretty significant issue with guest services. I didn't link my credit card to my account right away. Normally I do that when I first get on board. But the area that had the kiosk was very crowded and people were having issues with cards on day 1. So I was like, I'm going to wait till the second day to do it. And when I did that, we were out in international waters. I didn't have internet or anything this cruise, and my card, actually multiple cards, got declined multiple times. And so I went to guest services to try to figure out what was happening, and they were adamant that it was my bank, and they made me do this weird phone call thing, and my bank couldn't verify me because there was no way for me to receive emails or confirmations or anything. And so I was just kind of like stuck in the middle of the ocean. And then it turned out it was a system issue on their end, and I ended up getting it, fixed pretty quickly after that. But the issue that I had is that when I went to the guest services person, they were cutting me off when I was trying to explain what was going on. I know I wasn't the only one having that issue, so they were probably tired of hearing the same spiel and, me defending my bank and saying that it's not, on my end, etc. But I knew for sure it wasn't. I'm not new to MSC. I know how this process works. And so I felt like that interaction and a couple of the other staff interactions on this sailing weren't as top tier as I'm used to from MSC. And I don't know if that's just unique to my sailing or my situation. And there were also a couple of times where I had language barrier issues with some of the people. So just be aware of that and be patient. They were even trying to get me to buy an internet package so that I could get in contact with my bank properly and all that, which was kind of annoying to me. They weren't going to offer me any sort of discount on it. I told them I was not wanting to plug into, the social networks or anything. I just needed to be in contact with my bank, and they said, well, you should have linked your card on the first day, even though we were told the first day that we would be able to do it just fine the second day if the lines were long. So anyway, definitely not my favorite moment. So just be aware of that and be patient and be kind. I was very good, calm, cool, and collected. I was stressed for sure because my account was locked at that point. I couldn't even get drinks from the bar or anything. Even though I had a drink package, it still goes through as a transaction. So once your account is locked, you pretty much can't do anything, which was, kind of stressful for me. MSC's customer service is not really known for being the most user-friendly to begin with, but this was the first time I really had a major issue like this. And I wish they would have been better about how they handled it with me. But anyway, like I said, no harm, no foul. We got it figured out and life moves on. And for my third dislike, I'm going to say that there's a lack of food options on board. Pretty much there's the buffet, the main dining room, and one specialty option. And the specialty option is very specific to certain dietary preferences, etc. Not a lot of options or flexibility with that. So yeah, for me, I don't know if I would really enjoy a long sailing on this ship. It's good for, a 3 or 4 night, maybe even up to 7 night adventure. But beyond that, it would be very hard for me not to get bored with the food on board. And so yeah, they really need to add a couple of extra options. It wouldn't be hard to do. I was surprised to see that there weren't wings or anything offered at the sports bar. They have a really nice sports bar on board and could easily equip it with those sorts of things. They have that on every other MSC ship that I've been on that has a sports bar, so I thought it was really surprising that they didn't on MSC Magnifica. I even brought it up to the people in there, why don't you serve any sort of pub food in here? And they were like, oh no, that's on the newer ships, blah, blah, blah. They did give me olives and peanuts and chips at that point, because I was wanting a snack. But yeah, so if food is your main motivator for going on a cruise, this is probably not the ship for you. The food itself was great, but the options were just so limited. All right, enough of the negative stuff. Let's go ahead and move on into what I did like, because I really did enjoy this cruise. I kind of tacked this one on. I was already in Miami doing another sailing, and they put out a flash sale that worked with my schedule, so I was like, let's try it out. And I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed MSC Magnifica. The first thing I want to point out is there was great entertainment on board. Everything from the theater shows to the trivias and events that were happening throughout the day to live music and evening entertainment. There was never not something going on. Even late into the night, 12, 1, 2 in the morning, there was still stuff happening. I found it really surprising because I thought it would be an older crowd since it's an older ship, but it definitely wasn't. People were partying hard till 2 or 3 in the morning, which as a night owl, that's usually my kind of vibe, so I definitely enjoyed that part of it for sure. I did see one of the theater shows. It was super good. The singers and dancers were top-notch talented, and yeah, like I said, I was never bored. On smaller ships that I've been on other cruise lines, there were sometimes hours where there was nothing going on, and that didn't seem to be the case for me on this sailing on MSC Magnifica, and I really appreciated that. For my second like, I'm going to say that the food on board was really good. I wanted to give this a specific bullet point. I know I said that the food options weren't great, and I still stand by that. There just needs to be a couple more things on board as far as that goes. But the actual food quality was top-notch, especially for MSC. They've kind of gone up and down with this over the years in the US market. But there was always something good to eat. I even did the brunch one morning, and they had some really unique options on there. The buffet was good enough that I didn't even really need to go to the MDR. I spent a lot of time eating at the buffet. They had snacks and stuff at bars. They were really good about putting that stuff out without, even being asked. I would order a drink and they would just bring a bowl of chips with it. And, I love those kind of small touches. I love when the food quality exceeds the standard, etc. So yeah, if you're worried about, the food being bland and whatever, tasteless, I know that that's kind of subjective. Everybody has different tastes and preferences, but for the most part, everybody that I talked to on board really enjoyed the food. And so yeah, if that's something that you're worried about, I don't think you need to worry. Book MSC Magnifica on a shorter sailing and enjoy. And for my last of the 3 likes that I chose for this video, I have to say that there are a lot of bars on board, probably more bars per person or per space in this ship than most I've ever been on. You'd be at one bar and then you'd walk just 10 feet down the hall and there'd be another bar. Service was perfectly fine. I never waited for a drink. A lot of the bars were even empty. We weren't at full capacity, but we were pretty full, and I never waited for a drink longer than a few minutes. And if one bar was full, I would just walk over to the next one and it would usually be pretty empty. And MSC is really good about alcohol. You can get multiple drinks at a time. They don't give you a hard time about that sort of thing. So I really enjoy that aspect of MSC Magnifica and, MSC as a whole. And like I said, this ship does not disappoint when it comes to that sort of thing. So yeah, if that's something you're worried about or something that you care about, this might just be the ship for you for that reason alone. And with that, I'll just kind of close things out with some overall thoughts. MSC Magnifica was a surprise for me of how much I enjoyed it, how much I liked you know, the vibe and the ship and the food and all the bars and whatever. Like I said, this was sort of an afterthought for me, tacked on at the very last minute, and I'm glad I did. It really kind of ended my trip in Miami nicely and fit with the rest of the adventure seamlessly, etc. It wasn't perfect, there were some glitches, but there's always glitches on every sailing, every cruise line I've ever been on. Nothing has ever been perfect, and it won't be for you either, and that's okay. But anyway, if you've been on MSC Magnifica and you're still watching the video this far in and have some input of your own, feel free to add that in the comments below. If you're gonna be on MSC Magnifica soon, you know, comment when you're sailing and what you're looking forward to and any questions you have, etc. I do my best to respond to everyone. I'm not always the quickest to reply, but I will eventually, you know, get back to you. And others in the comment are usually pretty good about, you know, getting involved with the discussion as well. So yeah, that's it for now. I want to thank you all so much for traveling with me. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things. We'll talk soon, and y'all have a good night.